Hello there, this is Bibi Cameron, and today I'm joining a YouTube video hub to show you the new stamp wheel by Altenew. I have the previous version of the wheel for over a year now. I have been using it a lot and I keep it stored in the original box. So as you see there, it's in perfect condition. And it's not because of lack of use. I have been using it a lot. It doesn't have cracks or stains or marks. So that says a lot about the build and the quality of this tool. So what is new that we have now a jumbo size of this stamp wheel, and it's improved because it's bigger. It allows us stamping versatility, and it also features a stamping plate with better guides. In relation with the anatomy of the platforms, you can see here the difference in terms of size. The working area of the stamp wheel is 7.5 inches and the new STAMPWHEEL 2.0 is 9 inches. It also has a removable side panel that will allow you to work in larger pieces, and this panel snap or click in place like so. If you see there, the side panels also has engraved or embossed guides which helps with paper placement. This also have a ultra sticky mat, and it's this one here, 9 by 9 inches, and this has two sides, one that is smooth and the other one that has a texture. So I want to show you here that texture, and this is what you are going to place against the stamping wheel, and it's going to allow you to remove this sticky mat with easy from the platform, while the smooth side is a lot more sticky as you see there, and it takes me a little bit more of time and also strength to remove that acetate from that side. So once this is done, all we have to do is to make sure that this textured side of the mat goes facing down, just like that. We are going to align the edges of this mat with the inner edges of the stamp wheel, making sure that everything is aligned, that there is no bulk in one side of the platform or another. We have to completely have this flat there, and that's pretty much the setting of this part. Now we are going to remove the plastic protector of the stamping wheel lid or the stamping block, and it's something you have to do to be able to use the wheel. So this is a circumference and it has 32 axes. Let's say that this is a cake and we have 32 slices. There is one big cut that goes from the top to the bottom and another one that goes from side to side. Here we need to pay attention to each quarter that has 8 axes, and it has lines across it every half inch. So that makes 8 lines, 8 circles marked around this center of the stamp wheel. Versus the previous stamp wheel lid, we have pretty much the same grid. The difference is that now we can see the lines all across and all around the plate. It makes easier to identify visually where we have to place the stamps, and of course is 1.5 inches wider. You can feel the texture of the grid, and that's the side I want you to place the stamps over to do stamping with this. So I'm going to start by making a super simple demonstration of how to place the stamps, and then we do something more colorful. So we are going to remove the side panel, and I'm going to place a whole A4 sheet of cardstock here. You just need to apply a little bit of pressure so the paper is going to stick to that mat. Just like you see there, it's not going to fall. And then you can use super large images on this platform. You can stamp part of the image, then rotate the paper and stamp the other part of the image, or you can also place the stamp in different ways to completely cover the whole sheet of paper, and you still have plenty room to move the stamp around. If you are going to use the same stamp on the original version of the stamp wheel, well, you need to move it around to see how it fits, and it will be only possible to stamp it in certain ways. The clear block has a hole in one of the scallops that allow us to identify the top of the plate. So I'm using that reference to place the stamp on that quarter of the grid to create a circular pattern. I'm going to speed this up because you need to see this slow, but you would see that this little hole is at the top of the platform. It needs to be aligned at the center of the platform to start doing the stamping, and as simple as that, I stamp the first part of the pattern. Then we need to re-ink the stamp, and we are going to stamp the next flower. Because the stamp is taking a quarter of the wheel, we are going to move the wheel 1/4 of that cut circle that is there need to face the center of one of the sides. Imagine if this is a clock, because we are going to stamp in every quarter of that clock. We are going to place that little cut circle at 12, then at 3 o'clock, then at 6 o'clock, and then at 9 o'clock. And that's how we are going to start thinking about how to create patterns on the wheel. For instance, if the stamp size is the equivalent of a quarter of your stamp wheel, you will be able to stamp it 4 times. If the stamp size and the position of the stamp within that wheel takes an eighth of the wheel, you will be able to stamp it 8 times. The same stamp can take more or less of the stamping wheel grid, depending how close to the center it is or how far it is. For example, in this image here, I could place it closer to the center, and in that way I will have the same 4 images, but a little bit closer to each other. Let's say that you already have the original stamp wheel and you were wondering how to do this. So I use this cardstock here just to guide you and to show you how I'm going to place the stamp. So I'm going to make sure that the stamp is as close to the center as possible within those 2 lines. I'm going to check if the image is going to be correctly placed within the stamping space. And then I'm going to stamp this. And you can see here the difference between the 2 stamped projects, one made in the 7.5 inches stamp wheel and the other one made in the 9 inches stamp wheel. So basically is the size of the project. So now we are going to move forward to a more colorful sample. So using the side guide, I'm placing the paper at 1/4 of an inch from the bottom and the top of the stamp wheel, so that we have the same distance between the inner edges of the stamp wheel and the paper, and that will allow me to have a center composition. And there is no better tool to work with bold stamps than this one. It will really take the stamps to the next level. So I'm going to work in this quarter of the wheel, and as you know, it has 8 axes. I'm going to place the stamp over 4 of those axes, and those are the central axes there. I have 2 at one side and 2 at the other, so this is centered there, and this is an 8 of the wheel, meaning that I will be able to stamp this image 8 times within the workspace or over my paper. But because the image has leaves and branches, I need to leave a space between images, so I'm going to bear that in mind when doing my stamping. I like to prime my bold stamps with this tool by Altenew, so that the stamp grab the ink a lot better. Now I'm going to apply ink over the stamp, and you will see that the ink tends to kind of move over the surface of these kind of stamps. So when we are stamping, we can have partially stamped images. I'm going to make sure that the stamp lid is aligned in place, and then I'm going to stamp these images. It didn't stamp properly, no worries, you can stamp over this again and again, and as many times as you need to. However, I will advise to try to get the stamping done once and maybe twice, and not stamping over and over, because you can lose some of the details of an image if you stamp over and over several times. Not because the stamp is moving, but because the ink spread on the paper causing that. So you see there, I stamped within certain distance one image from the other, in spite that I can stamp really close. And you can see here, if I use the next scallop of the wheel, I can stamp just next to the other flower, but I'm actually skipping one of those spaces. So you will also be able to measure yourself, use the power of eyeballing to say, okay, in that space there, I can stamp the leaves, right? So it will take a little bit of practice to understand the logic of the wheel, but it's not rocket science. And if you give yourself the time to practice patterns with your stamps, you will find how amazing is this tool that goes beyond the simple function of stamping over and over in the same spot. Okay, so I finished this first row of stamped images. I'm going to play some music and speed the process so you can see quickly how I bring this image to life, applying all the ideas and all the guides I explained in the previous 10 minutes of the video. So I hope you like it. Once I finished the stamping, I decided to add a contrasting ink color around the edges of the flowers. In this case, it was Firebrick, and that added tons of interest to the final image. I also decided to change the color of the center of the flowers for black, so that will coordinate a lot better with the whole project. And I did pretty much the same with every single image to test this stamping platform to the limit, and it passed the test. I did a bunch of stamping, and as you see there is 0 error. To finish this, I decided to split this panel in two, and I thought these panels will benefit from a little die cut. So I die cut this hummingbird out of white cardstock, and I applied the same Altenew ink colors that I used to do the stamping to guarantee color coordination. In case you are wondering, these hummingbirds are from a big die set that I designed in collaboration with Spellbinders, and it's called Bibi's Delicate Floral Hummingbirds. They are on sale on the Spellbinders website, down from $47 to only $12. So stop this video, stop breathing, and go and get them, because that's a bargain. So if you see, I apply inks here and there over the die cuts. I don't make a whole blend, only blended the areas that were yellow and blue to achieve a green color. And you can also use the sticky mat of the stamp wheel to hold die cuts in place while doing the ink blending. However, the sticky mat is going to stain, so bear that in mind. I have a spare one to do that, and I also do that using a gel press or a jelly plate that is not necessarily cheaper than this tool. So if you have this tool, you can use it as well for that, if you don't mind that it gets stained. And you can also use it to hold stencils in place while doing stenciling or to do mirror images. For today, I thought it was convenient to show you the very basics of the stamp wheel, and also to share some ideas of color coordination between stamped images created with the wheel and also die cuts. I don't have another bird that fit this design, but you can use anything else. And something important here, for example, is that I'm using black ink, and I decided to use a black marker around the edges of that die cut just to make it pop up out of the background. If you see, this one here has the marker and the other one no, and you can see how flat it looks. So these kind of details also enrich your compositions, and they are very easy to apply and to do. So I'm going to finish these cards just by adding black accents, also a black sentiment, and I used a VELLUM background for the sentiments. And at the back of the vellum, I'm only adding glue in the areas that are covered by the cardstock or the die cut sentiment. So when I glue it down, you don't see the glue anywhere. I'm also adding some of these gems by Altenew just to give a little bit of a sparkle. And I decided to create 2 slimline cards. I will cover the whole front panel of one of them using this panel here. And for the other one, I cut a matte layer of blue cardstock. I'm going to cover the whole front panel of a card base with that cardstock, and then I'm going to glue this panel over. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you are enjoying the hub. The next person in the hub is in the video description. Just below this video, you will find there also the supply list and links of interest. There is also a giveaway for you, so make sure to leave a comment to enter the giveaway. Thank you very much for watching and happy crafting. Bye!